Hello, friends, and welcome back. We are in episode 3 of our foundation tutorial series for ZOAPIIO. In the last episode, we had built our mid office, and this is the project that we had at the end. Before we proceed with building the other parts of the application, just a quick note, something I forgot last time, is that about locally saving your files. So create a local folder on your machine and you put all your files over there so you know what is where. This is a JavaScript file that we had started with. I've already saved it here from the text editor that I was using. This project also we should be able to save, and we should save locally to a file. So what we're going to do is it gets downloaded into download folder, and I'm just going to move it here. So we got these two files. This is the generated project that we have, and the new project that we're going to build we'll also be saving it here. So coming back, now let's get started with developing other parts. And now it's just a little warning. It's going to get serious. Now you will have to write actual programs. So coding comes into picture. And hopefully the ZOAPIIO programming model you'll find very simple. It's not low-level programming. You don't have to actually write anything in Java or PHP or any. We will be using this designer. You will see how easy it is. So quick flashback. This is the front-end application, and this is the split API documentation. So let's get back. Another note, if I may, before we start, is that the front end is also going to be built using the same designer, which means we can be building the integration and the UI as an interleaved process. One doesn't have to be a distinct, you finish the integration first, then you do the UI. They all get built together. And this is a great feature to have in your agile model, is when you don't have a clear finalized specs of either the UI or the integration. So you build kind of as an agile process, you build both of them. And in real life, the front end, it's quite likely that you would be using an existing front end, which is already HTML, JavaScript, React, whatever you may be using. And you would like to continue to use the same technology for the front end. So be prepared to throw it away and replace it with anything that you already have or another team that's building the front end. But for the purpose of this demo, we will build it because it's easy to test. So as you're building the integrations, you can test the flow by building the UI as well, and it doesn't require any programming. Doesn't require much programming, I should say. So it's always recommended that you use this kind of a model, and it's okay if you have to throw away the front end and replace it with something else. It's all the components are independent. So let's come back. Now we are going to start with a new project, and this time we will go with a blank project. And we'll give it a name. The name we will pick is the project that we had earlier was called Foundation. We will use the same name with the suffix -x, which means that it's an extension project. And it's really a convention, and there's no need for you to have this specific name, but it helps keeps things organized, and you know exactly. You can create multiple extension projects to the same base project. They may be interacting with each other. They may not be. They may be completely independent. It's up to you. This is just a convention. And to start building, and now that we're going to be dealing with actual databases and creating stuff in the database, actually calling the web services. So let's get started. So here, the first thing we will do is we will import a new database table. Okay, that's because we need access to the bookings table. which we created in the previous project, but it doesn't exist in this project. It's a brand new project, right? So we're just going to first import it. We see it here, foundation booking. That's the one we need. Now we have this table here. We go into an import definition. There, we have the entire definition of this table now, and we can easily deal with it, read, write, whatever. We will see how that gets done. The next thing we will do is we will add a web service to our project. We'll be adding multiple web services to a project, each corresponding to the service that we want to consume. So a little preview here. We have these items for entry points. Entry point is something, it's a service that you are going to provide, right? That's an entry point into your application. And we have several kinds, SOAP, GraphQL, JMS, WebSocket. I'll come to the Proclet, we'll be using this as well. But right now we start with a web service. A web service is something that you're going to consume. That means it's being provided by somebody else. Now we can create a web service, type in all the details, message structures and everything. That's perfectly legit. But what we're going to do for now is we're going to use a wizard. When we configure an external service, we're going to need quite a few things about it. We're going to need what is the request structure, because when we call it, we need to know what data to provide. What is the response structure, in the sense when the data comes back, how to process it. Okay, so let's, I'll show you how to use this wizard. Let's say we start with the service, which is the split providers. Okay, so this is from the sandbox. The URL is over here. We're going to need all this in our wizard. We need to pass some headers. Without this, the service will not run. This is an authorization header. And in this case, the request data is latitude, longitude, which goes along with the URL. It's a GET request. So we're going to copy this. Paste it here. So now we have all the information that we need to call this service. And then I'm going to say go, which is going to execute it and get the response. So here we have the same response that we saw in the sandbox. We could have copied and pasted this response manually, but that's fine. It did that for us. And now it moves up to the second step where we actually do the import. And I say go again. So here now we have created a web service which has all the information the system needs to know on how to call it. It has the URL, the request types, and everything. Now, what other stuff that import process did, it has created some definitions. So these are just definitions, not declarations. And the types, it created two nodes called the split providers request type and the response type. And here we have all the fields that we saw in the when we were working on that request. And then under web services, it's created two nodes. One is split providers request, which is of the type. Here's DYP colon and the type name, which means that it's of that structure. And we can see the structure here as well. And similarly, it's created a response. So this is a convention that we will follow, is that for all the web services that we call, we will create their request and response under the web service node. In all the web services that we provide, we're going to create their request and response under the request and response nodes here. So this request, as you see, is a special, it's in uppercase, and also it's a different icon next to it. And the reason is because this request is actually a system abstraction of the HTTP request. And it's got a lot of stuff that's happening behind it, which system manages for us. So Everything else is a regular tag. It's like a data node, but this one is an abstraction because, and we will learn about all the abstractions as we go along. Like database table is also an abstraction. Where did that go? Yeah, here it is. It's also an abstraction. So now this is a simplified process of how you configure a web service that you want to call. Okay. So before calling it, we have to configure the web service. So similarly, we're going to go ahead and do the configuration of other web services. And I'm going to break here, and we will resume in the next episode when we have created all the web services, and then we're going to continue from there. I'll see you in the next episode.